a woman trotting past. That's what I think. Or I generally think, good God, you need a better sports bra. You know, if you need stabling, let me know.
So a week later she rang. I knew she was on the hook.
A week,
then,
that's quite a good... Made him wait a week.
No, I did. You know what? I'm here, and any opportunity that comes my way, I take with both hands because I might not have been here.
I think we underestimate how much muscle you would put on and how much that...
It was...
I suppose I do know, actually, because I can't get any of my clothes now. My biceps are too big.
It's good to see that you're over your man flu.
That got me hard last week. Horrible. It got me hard? Why did you make it awkward? You could have just carried on like usual. As in, the flu got me hard. It got me good.
You said that.
Your eyes told 1,000 stories. I thought I was a cheeky one. Woo. Great to see you, Pippa. I haven't got man flu anymore. I'm over it.
But your tan's fading.
Is it?
Yeah, your tan's going. And for anyone listening out there, you actually can't see, but Tristan's arrived in his tuxedo, looking very smart.
Thank you.
Monday morning,
I've been at a black tie ball in Whitehall.
On a Monday morning. It must have been really good, was it?
Promise it wasn't from the weekend. I promise. I've been filming Made in Chelsea. But also, I wanted to make an effort for you because you always look so fabulous.
Oh.
I thought I'd probably, try and show you that you can polish a turd.
And you didn't notice that I'm looking a bit
I think you look beautiful, as you always do.
I don't.
You always do.
But anyway, I've actually got a leopard skin belt on.
Where are you going with this?
And so dressed a bit more safari-fied.
Thank you. Was that for me? I've gone Rupert Campbell Black for you.
Actually, talking about Rupert Campbell Black, my husband did. He did some of the work for riders, as in the bit of the stunt work side, doing a lot of the riding, and he actually was Rupert Campbell Black's double.
So just to understand the situation, obviously I've watched Rivals recently, which has just come out. Great show. Are we talking about a different Rupert Campbell Black?
Yeah, we are talking, going back a long time, we're talking about Riders, the Jilly Cooper Riders, when that came out on television.
Okay.
And that was back, it was the year we got married, 1993. It was very amusing because someone had a real wind-up with him and said that before William got involved, they said that Rupert Campbell Black was very tanned, had stubble, and that and they sent him some fake tan in the post and said he had
sent William some fake tan?
grow his stubble and have fake tan. So
Please tell me you helped him with that.
I didn't, but he did do it.
I can imagine you with a mitt just giving a little...
And then when he went out for the filming,
Yeah.
he met this clean-shaven blonde guy, and this guy must have thought, what am I looking at? Some guy looking orange from fake tan and stubble.
So good.
So someone played a wind-up with him.
That's quite a cool flex, though. Your husband's like,
It was when I first
Rupert
met
Campbell
him.
Black body double.
He did, and he supplied all the horses for riders all those years ago, a long time ago. So
You've got a very exciting life. How's things changed since you kind of... I want to know the journey from kind of like how you started kind of getting into the social media world and how things have changed since then.
Basically, I had social media like on a private level for many years, and then I actually watched a Netflix documentary about how it sucks a lot of your time up. I was like, this is really weird. Like it does. Like I'm scrolling all the time. So I deleted it. So I did have social media for like 18 months, 2 years. Like completely had a break. Super productive. But then I was like, oh, God, I really would like a business page to show like my work. 'Cause I'm very proud in the jobs I've done. And it's nice to have like these case studies where you can be like, this was the first time and now we're here. This is the improvement. Yeah. It's good to showcase that as a portfolio to potential new clients in the future. And so I started that and I did a couple of photos and it was like nothing like my friend liking it or, my dad looked here. And then I posted a video of me. It's actually a Shire horse. So there's a big Shire horse I was shoeing and my mate was like...
you'd have to be quite strong to...
Yeah. One of the younger lads were like, you should film this, And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's really interesting. Like you should film it and put it on there. And I was like, all right, yeah, go on then. Passed him my phone. I was like, film it and I was shooting it. Anyway, I went home and what's funny is I didn't even like edit this video. You like had an option to like clip it automatically. So I clicked this, because I didn't know how to edit at the time. It was like I clipped it like into 15, 20 seconds or something. It was only a really short clip. and it had like a Justin Bieber song on top of it.
What was the song?
I can't remember. It now.
Want me.
No, it wasn't that. Anyway, it was quite a viral song, and I put it up. Anyway, I went to sleep. Next day, I woke up. The phone was absolutely wild. Notifications, followers, likes, comments, and people were just going absolutely nuts.
Just went completely viral.
Yeah, just nuts. And I thought, oh, maybe that's just a one-off. Like, then didn't really post up for 3 weeks. I was like busy working again. Then I made another video. Then that just seemed to do pretty good as well. And then,
so the followers are going up at this point.
Yeah, it's all going
traction,
up. And it was done very sort of casually for a while, but people were just getting really good reception every time, and like really did like watching it.
So then, do you feel like you've kind of tailored it now to be more of kind of like?
Yeah, it's definitely for. Like, I first would say I'd start off because it's for like a farrier to look at or a potential client, whereas now it's more for the general public.
Now.
Yeah, well, it's more for...
is it?
Do you know what it is as well? It's more for non-horse people. They're more the people that are more interested. I had friends for like 20 years and they're like, man, I knew you were farrier, but I didn't know that's what you do. Yeah. Like, that's wild. Like, they're like, you nail into his foot, like you burn on his foot. Like, what's that? And it's just showing it, the trade off a little bit and getting some awareness, because it is a trade that's, not very busy. It's not the most desirable job in the world.
As I said, it's pretty tough on
brutal.
you physically, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very brutal.
Looks
like your back hurts. I mean,
well, yeah, but he's young still.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but even then, I do have like some back problems, like aching a little bit. I never feel 100% in my back, but it's good to bring some awareness to it to get more younger people involved in it. I do think that's important.
Do you feel like it's one of those kind of obviously, there'll always be a huge demand for farriers, but like I feel like a lot of these kind of more hands-on physical trades that have to be passed down, and obviously it's a family business for you. Do you feel like that's kind of going a little bit and you're trying to get people more involved in learning it the proper way?
Definitely, it is a little bit. I mean, we used to get a lot more interest. Like, for example, my dad trains apprentices. We used to get like letters all the time, text messages, people like, please can I have a job? I mean, it's quite hard to get a job because my dad only usually would employ 2 people at a time, and they were obviously here for 4 years. So the opening to become one is very small. But like, we don't really get the same people applying anymore. It's quite so quieter these days.
I think it's actually quite a worrying trend, because I think we're seeing this.
We've got loads of horses.
I know.
Way too many horses.
But it's the same with whether it's grooms or a lot of people that need to sort of specialise in.
These highly specialised skills that need to be kind of taught and be hands-on and passed down.
What do you think what is it? Do you think it is the hours, or what?
I think it's
quite lazy now, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. It's also like to do with the system. I think the system's a little bit tricky these days with obviously people that train apprentices. The apprentices back in the day used to get paid a little bit less. Materials cost a lot.
Do you think a lot of red tape around the system?
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to get into. And even the people that can get you in now, there's less and less people training, just because like it's inexpensive. It's expensive to train people nowadays. And
how do you feel like the business? Because obviously it's a family business. Has that changed from the social media growing? And like, is that something that you kind of?
It has. As in, a lot more people know who I am, for example. But the funny thing is, we were already very well established from my dad being in the area for 45 years.
Yeah.
And I was already like fully booked. Really, I never really have a booking. Ever. But so the social media side, it kind of made that a little bit worse, I would say. People more trying to ring up. I am very like honest with people, and like if something comes up, like if a horse moves on, I can get you in, or if you're already on a yard mat, then we can make that work. But in terms of I'll get more opportunities like coming down here to see you guys. Some people, they're just like watching it and they have no horse, they have no clue.
What do you reckon it is? What is it from the whole experience that brings people in?
It's so different.
I got sucked in for hours.
Yeah, you don't think it's the tattoos or anything?
Yeah, well, I think it's more the horses and the job that sell it, and maybe how I present it. It's a combination, but it's not just like, because I look at the camera and smile. Because if I did that without the horses, I don't think I'd be anywhere near.
I just looked at.
I think the little ponies help. The little ponies
always help.
The little ponies help. The ponies do well. We were talking about, there's this little Shetland called Black Baby Velvet, and she is only 20 inches tall. Yeah, she's only 20 inches tall. She's absolutely tiny.
A little bow.
And I'll trim this. I've trimmed it 3 times. So I've done Baby Velvet part 1, part 2, part 3. Every time I film this pony, she just gets all the views because she's so cute.
No. Must be odd. 1 minute if you
A big show horse.
if you shoo it straight
yeah.
after the show horse.
Yeah, that is.
You'd be picking it up and throwing it over your
Yeah,
shoulder.
yeah,
Strongly. Well, Pippa said she had a crush on you since she was 14. She was 14.
When I was 14. But that was really, with both of us, I'm not going to start because this is obviously but because we had to work hard, we realised how serious we were about our relative sports.
And if you are going to do it, you're going to have to commit to it, kind of, that sort of thing. So how does the apprenticeship work then? So you say you had an apprenticeship. Does someone offer you like an X amount of time here to prove yourself?
Basically, similar to as we do. If you see somebody that you think rides well enough, then the guy saw me riding ponies and said, and actually while my father was combining during the harvest, my father wouldn't have time to take me to a pony show, so he used to drop me off at this guy's yard and say, right,
Off you go.
and somebody used to perhaps run me up and down, and I used to have to fend for myself and take my ponies up and jump them. And so he knew me, and he knew probably from that I was prepared to work hard, so he offered me a job from there. And from 16, I never went home again, to be honest with you.
Seems to be this kind of this meritocracy, kind of, you know, working hard and making it work. What is your passion? Like, where does the passion come from horses? What is it that you most love about these animals and kind of has kept the two of you in this world for so long? If you could try and pin it down.
I think the driving for trying to do right by the animals and do it better, you know, and obviously now we're diverse with the breeding, you know, just trying to do a better job of educating them to show people how, you know, what a wonderful animal they are if they're trained correctly in the right way, how simple things can be and how much they want to do what we ask them to do. You know, it's us that make them complicated. And actually, you know, things have changed so much since, you know, the word breaking a horse. You know, and in actual fact, when we go back, even when I was first at 16, if we could get a saddle on it, I rode it. You know, which actually, yes, not only is it frightening for me when you get legged up on a wild horse going up down, it's actually particularly frightening for them at that time.
Yeah.
But that was how we did it. But actually now you breaking a horse would be the wrong word. It would be getting its confidence and showing it how nice it can be to share, you know, stuff with a rider rather than
That
the word
partnership.
breaking a horse, you know, like you see in a rodeo. Because nowadays, it doesn't happen like that. You know, you'd get a horse in the stable quietly, you'd take days or weeks until the horse is confident with you on his back before you get to a situation where you can fall off it and frighten it and make things more complicated, because it's us that make things more complicated with young horses. So if you do it correctly from the beginning, usually they're all very straightforward.
Probably straightforward for you guys because you know what you're doing. But it's funny you obviously share that. You know, doing right by the horse is a expression that you've said so many times.
We've always shared very similar beliefs. I mean, if I didn't like the way he was riding and he was rough with the horses, I actually really wouldn't have found him attractive.
I think you sort of fancied it.
Okay, he was
Fine.
blonde and
Yes, and-
gorgeous, but
but it was the horsemanship.
yeah, I think that was
And there's this pretty little thing on the collecting ring, you see.
Yeah,
me.
I can picture it now. It's quite a beautiful love story. I'm just picturing it. I'm the romantic at heart.
Yeah, it
Where do
took
I
a
find
while
myself one of those?
sort of. It took a while. Then we were probably 16, and then it was.
Then we
19,
got to know
so-
each other really when I started. If we were going out, obviously officially, but that's nowadays.
Well, we discussed there's levels to this thing, aren't there? Yeah.
Because nowadays official, you have to announce it on the socials, but we didn't do that in
On
those days.
social media. Well, so there's an exclusive thing, so it means that you commit to not sleep with anyone else, essentially.
Right on social media.
I mean, I think that's. I don't write
Okay,
the
well,
rules.
it's
Move
very
swiftly
different
Yes.
in our day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's as confusing as it is for
so
me.
I remember William came up to a show in Norfolk and we just got chatting, and you very kindly said, if you're ever eventing in sort of the area in Surrey, you know, if you need stabling, let me know.
So a week later she rang. I knew she was on the
A
hook.
week,
then,
that's
you know.
quite a good. Made him wait a week.
No, I didn't. Anyway, I did need stabling and I did go and stay, and I arrived with I had a blowout in the back tyre of the lorry, didn't I?
So I had to change it.
Pippa's got a screwdriver putting a hole in the back tire.
And we went out to dinner. But I thought, when you said, "Oh, do come and stay in the house," you didn't stay in the lorry, and I said, "Oh, I'm not sure what these show jumps are like. I'm staying in the lorry," and I did stay in the lorry. Anyway, it's your.
Well, there's so much to dive into. It's so difficult because you've had so many career highlights. Obviously, it's fascinating to kind of understand because there's not many relationships, marriages in this world that where you've both done so well. So I think it's fascinating for the listeners and for us to kind of understand like how work and real life kind of comes together and how you've both had your amazing careers and had a partnership at the same time. And now you obviously got a business together as well.
I'm just going to say I am incredibly lucky because William your priority was building a business, having a place, and you put your career, as in riding at the top, on hold because you had to sell horses, didn't you?
I was sort of paranoid, having seen people that chase dreams and end up with nothing, that I would at least start to have a business that I could earn a living and I was 26 before I actually jumped on a British team then. So it was a long time trying to make,
So the business came first and then...
The business came first. I was lucky to meet Donald Barnwell, who is the other half of the Billy Stud, who's been very like-minded with me. There's no way business-wise it could have worked without him, and he would be very much similar. It's not about money, it's about the love of horses and doing it better and doing a better job of what we do. And, that's ongoing really, that we're still chasing it with only halfway where we want to be, really, But
I'm assuming you paid the mortgage.
People said we're big enough, we don't need to do any more.
Sometimes I think when you're going to just put a bit of a curb on it, because seems to be growing.
How did you know something wasn't right? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, you can ask as long as you love. Everybody seems to know.
Well,
I used to go to America every summer.
Yeah.
Because I used to go for about 3 months, and I rode out every day, and I had this swelling. It didn't really affect me, but it started worrying. It didn't really worry me, and I started going out with a vet. A lady vet, mind you. And having ridden the winner at Fairhill, I managed to get her into bed that night. And, and the first thing she said to me was, if I was you, I'd get the first plane back to England and see a specialist.
Yeah.
And that put the fear of God in me. So
you did?
Got on a plane that next night and arrived at Heathrow, rang up Alan Thomas in the Park Street Clinic, who used to patch us jockeys up those days, and he said, go to the Royal Marsden and see a Professor Peckham, and had 2 x-rays and all that, and they said, we'll ring you in a few days' time. And he rang back and said, we want you in on Monday, and 2 operations that day, and then they got the results of the tests, and then the chemotherapy started. And
pretty much immediately,
Well, they gave me 2 choices, to be honest. They said, with no chemotherapy, you'll be dead in 4 months.
Good Lord.
Or with the chemotherapy, we'll give you a 40% chance of living. So
you had one choice.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I was stupid. I said to the professor, I said, well, I think I'll go back riding, and with a bit of luck, I'll get killed in a novice chase. And he looked at me as if I was stupid and said, Bob, you're not a bad novice chase jockey. If you were on a 6-4 shot, you'd give it a ride, wouldn't you? And that's how he talked me into having the treatment. And
great. Thank God he was knowledgeable about racing, really.
Yes, he was, yeah. So that's how it started, and the chemo was barbaric those days.
I mean...
I was sick 24 hours a day.
Oh.
I was in 7 days having it on the drip constantly. Then I'd have 2 days off, back in for 1 day, 3 days off, back in for 1 day, 2 days off, then back in for the 7.
So there's no way you could have ridden whilst
doing
all this treatment.
I had the strength to walk, never mind anything.
And how long did that go on for?
That went on for 7 months.
Goodness gracious.
Constantly. My last one was on January the 1st, 1980. Wow. I can still remember the day. That was thank God, no more chemo. And I tried riding out about a month later, and I still wasn't strong enough, and I daren't go down to Josh's and ride out and see how bad I was.
No.
And so I rode out a little bit of Paul Coles and flat horses, and I knew I wasn't fit enough. And
So did you start doing more?
I did everything I could, a lot of running
trying
and
to
things
get
like that.
running.
But the thing that got me back the quickest, I went straight back to America. And I was sitting on about 15 horses a morning, and that got me
Got
fit.
you back.
You know, and I worked hard. But I think the weather was the thing that helped me.
Totally
If
understand
I'd
that.
stayed in England, it would have taken me 4 or 5 months longer.
Yeah.
But nice
Totally
sunny
agree.
weather.
Pick me
Yeah.
up.
But the worst thing was that I lost all my feeling in my hands and feet.
Goodness.
So have you ever tried walking on blocks of ice where it felt like, and riding horses
with your
when
hands
you can't
must be
feel your
very
hands?
difficult.
I know.
That was the,
That's still one of the symptoms now, isn't it? It's friends I've got.
yeah.
People.
And that was the hardest thing too.
Yeah.
Everything felt numb, you
Yeah.
know, and thankfully it came back. But in the early days, it wasn't so
Very
good,
difficult.
you know. You're more on instinct than anything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in Findon
What was going on at Josh's?
with Aldeniti, I mean,
Well, I came back.
so what made you come back? Because
Well,
nice weather.
it was nice weather. I got
Racing
back
at
in.
Fair
I
Hill.
got back in end of September, and Josh never had early runners anyway.
So you purposely came back. You felt you were strong enough, ready to come back
Yeah,
for the
you know,
national
I'd
hunt
ridden winners
season.
and everything. I don't think I was quite as good when I came back. It took a bit getting back into the rhythm of the racing over here. One of my first rides back for Josh did win, and it was a great day because it was Josh's 500th training success.
Wow.
So that meant an awful lot to everybody. Then things went wrong. The horses got the virus. Well, it was when they brought the injections in.
Oh,
Right.
don't.
And the injecting flu jabs
yeah.
and jabbing fit horses
Yeah.
wasn't the right thing. And the horses were running absolutely desperate. And the majority of the owners didn't want me. And they were blaming me. But thankfully they were running no better for anybody else. And Josh was always there and thinking the right time, you know. And I think over the next 2 months, I only had about 5 rides for anybody.
Really?
And I can remember he rang up and said, Ascot on Saturday, 2 of your old horses are back. They've been off as long as you have. And it was the SGB chase and the Reynolds, 2 big chases anyway. And Henry Bishop won the SGB and Kaibo won the big novice chase, beating Dramatist. And, you know, I went from the down and out
To the.
to the Golden Boy in an hour and a quarter.
You've now started a vlog.
I've started off about the journey with because when we started the Bloodhounds, we obviously needed more horses, and I went from having 2 horses to 8. And so I started off the vlog. I was teaching a girl that was an influencer. I think you'd call her an influencer. And she said, you ought to vlog this. Your life is bonkers. It's hilarious. So I started doing that. And then I obviously got Brodie. And now I've done my journey with Brodie. I mean, I've got a lovely crowd of people that follow me. And the comments are just... And most of them are women and men, but who say, oh my God, you've inspired me to take up riding again, and I've started competing, and it is lovely.
And then what got you into goats? Because
I've always wanted a goat.
You've got goats.
I've got 2 goats, and I've got 2 turkeys now who are called Rodney and Pete, but they are girls.
Right, okay.
And
so why the Rodney and Pete?
I don't know, it just happened, really. And they are hilarious. They follow me around all the time and come and sit while I'm mucking out. And the goats
With
live
the goats,
with Mazette.
I know,
They sleep in his stable. And they've got a window ledge, and he looks out the window, and they're on the window, and they lick his neck and chew his mane, which is less than ideal, but he's not got much of a forelock. But yeah, they are. I've always wanted a goat.
It is a complete wacky,
Yes,
funny
Geraldine,
farm.
who she used to come in the house. And
Geraldine, and was Geraldine a boy?
no, she was a girl. She was a girl.
So finally, you had Brodie.
Yeah,
You know, you've had 3 kids. You've had this bonkers life.
yeah.
You were obviously very serious when you were competing when you were at Roos and
Yeah.
when you were younger. Some mental sort of, well, not change of heart, or what, you know, it must have been tough to get back into that sort of.
Yes, I think I'd had quite a few injuries. I'd broke my pelvis and I've done damage to my back. So physically, I'm a bit broke. Put on weight with the menopause, shall I say?
That dreaded word.
Yeah, and
It's only nature.
I wanted to compete. I mean, it's quite scary and daunting coming back to it. I mean, the sport has evolved a lot. You know, I mean, I don't want to take away from what I achieved, but it's even harder now. It's much more.
It's more technical, isn't
Much more
it?
technical. I mean, I found that the biggest thing, and the area that has surprised me the most. So I got Brodie and started competing, and I've loved it. I think, you know, having one horse actually is a real treat now, and he's such a lovely horse. And because the children have grown up, I've got time to have all the lessons and really I wanted to do it properly. I wanted to do him properly. The biggest challenge is sitting trot. I can't do sitting trots. Oh my God. My back is so
can
bad.
I just say, it was a little bit of a challenge for you back when
Well,
you...
exactly. Thank you. Yes, I know. And it's even more of a challenge now. The first time I did 2-star short on Brodie, where I had to wear tails and do sitting trot in the test, I came out and I cried for about 5 minutes.
Because you were in so much pain.
I was in so much pain. It was such a big step for me. That was the hardest thing, was putting myself out there, because I knew I wasn't looking very pretty. And it was just the relief and the achievement that I'd managed to get back to a stage where I could wear tails and do sitting trot. And I know it sounds silly, but, you know, it was a huge achievement.
The jumping bit's the easy bit, isn't it?
Well,
Standing
absolutely.
up, yeah.
And the other thing that was so surprising is when we did a novice, the height was exactly the same. Years ago when I was doing it before, the height was exactly the same, but you didn't have a double of arrowheads in those days. You didn't have a double of corners in a novice. You wouldn't really get that until a big, decent intermediate. And that caught me out actually a bit, because I hadn't done that preparation with Brodie. And you know, I remember I went for a lesson with wonderful chap Simon Grieve, and he really helped me practice over that and actually realising the importance of that technical aspect of it that really wasn't there when I was competing before. So that's been a big learning curve. And I just think, with horses, you're always learning, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's such a privilege to do horses. It really is. And I love getting to know them, and building up that relationship is just fabulous. Yeah, and it's been challenging as an older lady.
Well, we're not quite as brave, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm brave. Or sometimes do we question whether our reactions are quite as quick?
I think that was the thing. I was surprised that I've always been quite a brave rider. That wasn't ever really my negative. My negative was my technical ability, I think, and the finesse. But I've been surprised that that element hasn't waned, but it is that a bit of self-doubt that I think kicks in when you get a bit older. You start, like you say, questioning your
I must admit,
reactions and
also I find, like, I'm really lucky because I've got the most lovely arena at home,
yeah,
with mirrors one end, and I have to say I really want to take the mirrors down, because every time I go past the mirror it just reminds me of how old I look.
I don't
And
have mirrors.
I know, and I want to get rid of them, because the mirrors are a great training aid to see whether you're straight, and you head towards the mirror and you can sideways on, you can see the outline of the horse if you've not got anyone on the ground. So they are a great training aid.
Yes, but
if your eye is drawn to you or to me, I just go, God,
who is that old woman trotting
know.
past? That's what I think. Or I generally think, good God, you need a better sports bra. Especially when I'm trying my sitting trot.
You've always had big boobies,
Oh
Justin.
God, I know.
But I have too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's been
that
challenging.
is our handicap.
Exactly. Yeah, finding a tailcoat that fits, that's been challenging.
So obviously you won Horse of the Year show in 1972. I believe there's quite a fun story of what happened after that. Am I right?
Yes, right. Well,
If you're happy to share.
okay, sorry, it's football.
But you got a bit grin and bear this one.
Right. Well, the championship was in the afternoon. My mate Chris Bell, put the pony away. All we wanted to do was go into the Wembley Stadium
After you've won.
after you won, right, and just go on to that, because it was only 6 years after Jeff Hurst's goal. You know, they think it's all over. Bumford is now, right? We wanted to recreate that. So we sneaked in,
You
right?
snuck into Wembley.
Wembley Football Stadium, the old one.
Okay.
We're on the pitch, kicking our football around, going, they think it's all over. Bumford is now. Putting our T-shirts over our head, running round Wembley pitch. When all of a sudden we heard, oi, right? These security guards are chasing us all around Wembley Stadium. We're going up the steps, round.
With your rosette hanging.
No, I took my rosette off. Anyway, they caught us. My father had to go to the security to collect myself and my friend Chris Bell. And it's a good job I'd won that day. Otherwise, I would have been in big trouble.
You've got a serious hiding on
Well,
us.
I think he'd had a few beers by then, celebrating. But yes, we had fun. And it's
That's brilliant.
after in those days, it was a big thing. I mean, they awarded me a gold Blue Peter badge.
You've got a gold PB badge?
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
You know, for winning the Horse of the Year show.
Not for
Breaking into Wembley.
breaking.
No.
I think we should try and break into the new Wembley after this. I reckon. We could.
Well, if you want to go, you get a football. I can still kick it. And I think, like Blackburn Town Council, a special banquet on my behalf.
Wow.
I was 12 years old, but the funniest thing was, I went to Clitheroe Grammar School for boys. There was also Clitheroe Grammar School for girls.
I bet that did
If you
wonders for the
went on
ladies.
the boys' bus, you were fine. If you were late and had to catch the girls' bus, it was trouble for a boy, I tell you.
Good trouble or bad trouble?
Bad trouble.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the girls were quiet.
Quiet.
No, they weren't quiet. They were quite
Quite
tough.
insert word
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
But of course, I was late one day, and I had to catch the girls' bus. I thought, oh God, so I caught the girls' bus, and they took me satchel. They're throwing my books all over. They're throwing them out the window. You name it. I mean, they were brutal, those girls.
Wow.
And then one of them says, "What are you doing with Nigel Hollins's books?" I said, "Well, I am Nigel Hollins." You won the Horse of the Year show. I caught the girls' buzz every day.
Yeah,
from
you did.
day on. I tell you, I was a hero. They sat me down. I was worshipped by these girls. The boys, I won't
What
tell
do
you
they
what they.
think?
Well, they
Yeah,
worshipped you for
what did
breaking
they
into
think?
Wembley. That would have been the
Sort
one.
of like, let's face it, a boy riding show ponies, right? They're football, rugby, and a show pony rider.
You had to tell them your Wembley Stadium story
Well, I
then.
did. And also, I did play for the football team, so I got away with it.
Many years ago, was it 18, 19? 19? I probably should know, but Tina and I were at Burley Horse Trials, and we were hacking our horses out, giving them a nice ride the day before the dressage. And Tina said to me, she said, "Pipsy, I've got to talk to you about something. I need to talk." And basically, she was informing me because she felt you should say the story. She had to basically tell someone that she was pregnant.
I wasn't 19. It made it sound like you were telling me this when I was 19.
No,
That's
I
a
was.
little correction there.
I was saying about.
Panic.
No, what I was trying to say was about. I was trying to say, is it 19? Because I should know, because I'm her godmother. Isabel is one of our top up and coming young riders and a multi-medalist at the Youth Championships.
Yeah, she is. And it's really exciting from my point of view. But going back to the Burley, we were just hacking around, and I was in my early 30s. And I thought,
Not 19.
No, I did the maths in my head. Yeah. It was 19 years ago, not when you were 19.
Yeah. Pippa's brain skipped on to the next sentence.
Semantics are important.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought, well, I'll tell her. But I'm, basically...
Because she
Isabel was-
trusted I'd keep my mouth shut.
I don't know if
you've
she
done
ever
well.
did
You
or
only
not.
brought it up 19 years later.
No, I was just ready to say, just in case she had a fall, I was ready to say.
Got you.
But I wanted to carry on with what I was doing. I felt I was all in good shape, and you know, she was only a peanut in my tummy at that point. And you know, I wanted to carry on, but I didn't want to tell people because I didn't want people to worry about me. That I was fine, and I wanted to stay focused. I didn't want to be thinking about that, but I wanted to let Pippa know if something happened. But so she was the right godmother to.
Definitely. I mean, that's another interesting question as well. You know, as a mother and as a professional rider, how do you then recover it? Like, how long is it until you can get back on the horse and like?
Yeah, it is quite. It is really tough, and I think it's really each person to their own. You mustn't ever judge going, well, Tina did this or Mary King did this or whatever. It's actually down to you, how you mentally cope. I was very lucky. I didn't really know. I wasn't massively maternal before. I got to an age and I was married and thought, actually, let's see. And then, I got pregnant. How I would be over it. But actually, one thing about it, when I got back to competition about 6 weeks after having the children, I was back competing, which was a bit of a struggle, but anyway, I managed it.
It's very impressive.
Was to very much stay very focused about what you're doing. So if the baby or the child is being looked after by somebody that you can, they're fine, I can focus on what I'm doing. And I also had an older horse in particular in the yard that I had every faith in its way of going, and I knew it really, really well. So when I got back on and felt really wobbly like sort of jelly, and it's an experience that I would never have had because I'm physically quite a strong person, then all of a sudden I wasn't as strong as what I thought I would be. But I trusted the horse. I wouldn't have got on one that I felt might do something really random and spin round or do something, because I would have come straight off, and then I probably would have not wanted to have come back. But there are many people that haven't wanted to come back, and that is absolutely fine. But I had been able to, in my brain, focus on competition. So the Olympic Games all came on after, because I thought up until then, yes, I'd ridden at European Championships and World Championships, won gold medals, team gold medals at all those levels, and actually my Olympic success came after having the children. But that was just the situation as it worked out, that I just happened to have the right horse at the right time. All the horses that I've had, I've actually produced from sort of 4 or 5 year olds, which I'm really proud of, but it's what has come my way. I truly believe that the horses that I've known, that I've ridden at championship level, at badmintons and on the world stage, I'm not saying I get it right every time, but I really believe, because my horses trust me and know me and want to do the best for me, that they have pulled it out the bag for me when I haven't got it right. But
Tina, I have to say, Tina has been one of the best and greatest team riders we've ever seen. I mean, to me, you should have deserved many. I mean, unfortunately, the win at 5-star level never came to you. But if you look at her CV with her appearances on championship teams, it was quite outstanding. And I know you had a very frustrating time you had 2 lovely horses in General Jock and Midnight Blue that were very close to getting selected for Atlanta, was it? Atlanta. Yeah. But sadly, they picked up minor injuries. And then, obviously, with Sydney, you were very close, and Tina was on the squad for Sydney, travelled all the way down as travelling reserve, which was tough for us because I was on the team, and it was not tough for our friendship, but I felt desperately sorry for Tina because she'd travelled all that way.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. For 6 weeks I was out there.
Which was, and a reserve at an Olympic Games is such a key role to play, and you have such input within that team structure. Same with Yaz Ingham this year at Paris. It's such a key role, but actually very frustrating for that rider. But luckily it was all turned round when you finally made your first Olympic appearance.
I mean, Sydney was a real tough one. I mean, Pipsy's right, but it actually could bring out the worst in your characters. I thought I'd never ridden at Olympic Games, got the opportunity. I felt, like all of us, that I should have been picked. I was then reserve. The owners weren't very happy that I was reserve and didn't want the horse to go all that way, so I found the money to pay towards him flying out there, and he was a really big horse, and I didn't know if he'd fly well, and then it was sort of announced that I was probably second reserve. Ian Stark had 2 horses to ride, and I had the 1, but I would be second reserve. And I thought, I don't want to ever have any regrets. I always slightly feel that during my career. So if I'm not there, if I'm sitting at home, that opportunity would come up for somebody else. So in for a penny, in for a pound, let's get there. You know, if I'm not there, this might be my one and only chance. And in many ways, it was an experience, yes, to do an Olympic Games. And if I'd never got the chance to ride in any other one, at least I can say I was there.
He was an interesting one. This is probably this true story of this. His nickname was called Roger. And I remember our telephone number is 666-295, but the local hospital is 666-292. And sometimes we used to get somebody ringing up for the local hospital. And I had this call one day off this person. I get a bit stressed out in the stud season. The phone rang, said, "I'm just ringing up to see how Roger's getting on." And I said, "Oh yeah, he's been in the we just collected the semen off him." And I promise you this is true. And I said,
He's only gone in to get his tooth removed.
well, you're ahead of me, Dirty. And I said, look, his libido's pretty good. And I said, I think his pregnancy results should be pretty good. And we got him on the first jump, ejaculated well, and we got a good amount of semen. We got 50 mils of semen. And there was a silence, there was just a pause.
Oh, this is so good.
And the lady on the phone, she said, "Roger." I said, "Yes, Roger." And she went, "But I only dropped my granddad off yesterday at the hospital." And I went, "Oh, shit. No, sorry, you've got the wrong number." And there was like a real shock.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
So we... anyway, yeah, so that was quite...
Anyway, Roger was like, "Get me up to there. That sounds great."
So that was me just sort of sometimes in my own little world, just smash off. So, yeah. So, but we have the team that we have, they're very sort of attuned to all that. You don't want to come to our Christmas party. There's zero filter.
Oh, brilliant.
Zero filter.
Getting me up there now. That sounds amazing.
But yeah, there's lots of different things at the moment. We're having a real weird one at the moment. I don't know, but there's this thing called stallion gummies. And we've had the last few weeks, something's hit, and we're having all these calls of people wanting... stallion gummies, but so that's
was that like a Viagra for horses?
Yes, no, not for horses, no.
Not me. For,
yeah. For the Royal. You obviously know a lot about this.
Love your horse, but not the high costs? Say hello to the Harry Hall One Club. You'll get public liability and personal accident insurance included in your membership from just £57.24 per year, making horse ownership more affordable.
And did you know they even offer horse box and travel insurance? How handy is that?
Friendly, fuss-free and full of shopping perks. Join the club that's got your back in and out of the saddle.
Harry Hall One Club, making horse ownership more affordable.
How I actually got into this was I love technology. And I love my rare breeds. I was trustee of the Rare Breed Survival Trust. My father was president of it, and that's trying to save UK's species. And there's 14 native horses in the UK, 12 considered rare. And I always want to know, how can we save these amazing species? And the Suffolk Punch was one of our, love them. And so we looked into sexing the semen, because again, when you get this extinction vortex, what happens? You produce more males than females. It's like it's crazy. It's like nature's way of...
Because a certain chromosome is more dominant.
Yeah, they basically just like self-implode. So we went and had the first foal born by sex semen, because we've got to have more females to make this breed more sustainable. And that was a real catalyst of how we can save that. And we thought, well, if we can do that to a Suffolk, why can't we do the same to elephants and rhinos and things like that? So that's how Nature Safe was born. And last year was just incredible. I must admit, I feel sorry for my poor wife, because I was just traveling. Well, we set up labs, one in Japan, one in India, went to the Faroe Islands for the Faroese horses. You can't call her a pony, otherwise you kicked off the island, but they're only this big. But there's only 27 stallions left, so we went out there, froze off all those stallions. That was incredible. We were collecting semen off these Faroese horses. The wind was literally going horizontal. I mean, I've got videos of doing it, which was just crazy. Yeah. But they beauty about it, they had the libido, which was just brilliant. So you could have jumped on a bale of hay and they still would have fancied it. And they went back and froze that. And now with the nature safe side, it's just with 50 to 100 species a day.
So just for the listeners,
I wanted to say
explain
something.
nature
Sorry.
safe.
Sorry, I'm rabid.
Before we go on to Nature Safe,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, because there is an element there where you could, I'm just coming at it from a different angle, you could say that's slightly interfering more with nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because if you think about semen, isn't it, the strongest one
Yeah.
wins sort of thing. And when you're trying to pick the semen out to decide the sex,
Sex semen. Yes, you're splitting
Yeah.
X and Y. So basically, the X-bearing sperm, the female sperm, has 4% more DNA than the male. So the way it works with that, if you put a fluorescent dye in it, it shines 4% brighter, so you can target those. So it is, and it's a machine it goes through, and it can do about 20,000 sperm a second. And yeah, I know. So it can but they use it for the bovine world.
Right.
So that's
To breed more females.
to be more
stop
females.
this critical.
So in the dairy industry, but you're right. Obviously the selection. That's when it comes to ICSI. That's definitely the case. You're only picking one sperm. At least we've.
oh,
still,
right, yes.
yeah,
Okay,
so-
sorry, I'm confused.
Yeah, with
I get
ICSI.
it, but that's where it is. That's where I'm fascinated
The ICSI
to learn
side.
about the ICSI and the.
And we went to the Iceland last year. Have you already been to Iceland?
No,
But the
never.
Icelandic horse, they've got an amazing, obviously on the horse side, they can't import anything. So they export all their best genetics. And we said, look, why didn't you export the semen? They said, well, it doesn't work, frozen semen. So we went out there,
Yeah, it does.
froze off the Icelandic horses and got the first pregnancies last May. We have done it in Europe with Icelandic horses, but they just haven't that there. And now I had a phone call from last week saying, brilliant, they've set up their first freezing clinic out there, and they're going to start exporting Icelandic horse semen now instead of exporting the horses, which is obviously much
better. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then with cloning,
Yeah.
obviously that's another whole area, isn't it? I mean,
so obviously Merca's Gem, which was a cloned horse. There's two we have
the gem twist.
to Gem Twist,
Yeah.
and Gem Twist was a gelding, so he couldn't breed, but he was one of the most prolific show jumpers. So what they did, they cloned two horses, so they're like sperm banks for those, and we have one of them. And I've also got the other lady in my life, apart from my wife, is I've got a cloned dog. Oh, she's just amazing. Oh, yeah, she's just incredible. I just
Because
love-
you had the.
we do the cloning, we do the tissue.
Did you had the mother or not?
No,
you
it
can't
was
even say mother. You had the dog originally.
Well,
and-
no, it was a field trial dog, one of the top field trial dogs in the country.
Right.
And it passed away, and they wanted that dog cloned. And they ended up with 3 embryos, and it's done in America, and they put 3 in a bitch, and all 3 survived, and it's like 55 grand each one. And they sort of said, right, we'll pay for 2, but we don't really want the 3rd. So pay for 3. So they gave us her. So we didn't physically do it ourselves, but we did all the tissue and all the cell line growths, but they gave us her. And she's just amazing, because everybody thinks they're going to have an ear missing or something wrong with them. But she's a perfectly healthy. If she was running, she'd be running around all around here now.
Is there anything that kind of maybe people at home wouldn't know that the job entails, or so, like, what is it that's a big thing that maybe we wouldn't understand about the job?
I think kind of like how I've already said, like how much goes into it, especially, when you're working with horses at the top level. It's not always very glamorous. That's a good way to put it.
But also, I think a tough side for you guys that people sometimes underestimate the effect some of these things have when a horse possibly might get injured,
Yes,
or
yeah.
the rider has a bad
Yeah.
fall, and it's often the groom that has to deal with
Yeah.
some of these situations.
Yeah.
And for you, I know Tom very sadly, at Burley with his great horse Toledo, that was a member of the gold medal winning team in Tokyo,
Yeah.
very sadly picked up a bad sort of ligament injury at Burley.
Yeah.
That, again, straight away people think, oh, really sorry, Tom,
Yeah.
and sorry to the
Yeah.
owners. But actually,
Yeah, no,
that
it's
hits
really
you guys.
heartbreaking. Yeah. No, I remember driving out of Burley that night thinking, oh God, it kind of, yeah.
Well, I know,
makes you
'cause we
feel
were
a bit
stable
empty.
with
Yeah,
you,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah. It kind of just makes you feel a bit empty. Yeah. There's obviously, you see all the highs and all the amazing places you go to. But yeah, behind the scenes, like bad things do happen, they're athletes and they get injured. So they are the tougher days. I mean, we're lucky that, obviously Toledo's now out of action, but we've got so many young, exciting horses coming through.
But I love seeing that he's very well.
Yeah, very well.
He's still with you, isn't
yes,
he?
Yeah. He actually has just came. He had a bit of a winter holiday out in the field. And he's just come back in and started having a little hack around. So yeah, really, really fun. And, you know, it's good for all of us just to have a little. He's so nice just to go off on a little ride by yourself and have a, you know, that one-on-one time.
And who over all the years, who's been your? Have you had any favourites?
Horses.
Oh, well, and right, okay. You can say riders that you haven't worked for.
Yeah.
Me, I dance with you. No horses.
Blink twice.
Yeah. I think you do. Yeah, you have certainly special connections with some of them. I find when you go away with them, say if you go on a big trip, you go to a big 5-star championship and it's just you and the horse one-on-one. Because a lot of the time we travel to these events with maybe 5 horses and your time has got to be split evenly between them all. But when you kind of go one-on-one, that's when you really learn about them and learn their character. And I think that's when they become like your special ones. And actually, probably the first one was when I was working for William. This was maybe a bit of like a moment for me when I thought, yeah, I think I'm doing okay at this, you know. When we went it was my first year working for William, and we went to Blenheim horse trials with a horse called Oratorio. And it was the first 3-day event I'd done without someone like supervising me. So I was there, just me, William, and the horse, and he ended up coming second. And nice. And I just kind of, I'm not a very emotional person, but I kind of felt myself like, oh God, this is really, you know. And I think, like connections that you make with the horses there, I think that's when they become your special.
It's also a team success, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's your victory as much as it is,
yeah. And I mean, I'm so lucky that I'm in the position of a traveling groom, and I get to travel with the horses and see them perform at their best. But there's also so many people behind the scenes at home that you don't see as much that deserve is equally as much kudos, really, because it's a whole team effort. You can't just say it's one person that puts the work in. It's everyone. And I think that's, like I said before, why I'm so excited about this year, because we've got a great bunch of us at the yard. It's really good we'll get the job done and we're serious and we're professional about the horses, but also have a great laugh. And it's the same like when we're at the events, all us grooms, we're all such good mates. And I mean,
yes,
so
I
lucky.
know. Yes, you all went off to some dance a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
You were having some fun out there, weren't you?
who works for me, she came back and
Sore head.
she looked very sore head, and that was not the next day. That was the day
Double
after.
hangover.
So it took her 2 days to get over it. So how was the balance with, riding and horses when you were busy with your modelling?
It was, I guess, tricky in the sense that I didn't get to ride as much as I wanted to. Always just been an amateur rider, just a lot of fun and eventing and hunting and show jumping, but a lot of fun with it. The strength thing and having to be a certain weight was definitely tricky because I wanted to keep fit, I wanted to be strong, but I had to be super light and super skinny. It's just such a horrible term, but I had to be super skinny.
I think we underestimate how much muscle you would put on and how much that
it was.
I suppose I do know actually, because I can't get any of my clothes now. My biceps are too big.
Do you know, it's one of the biggest problems I had in the modelling industry is that my thighs and my arms didn't fit into any of the clothes. So that was a massive thing. But when I was riding, I felt such a massive difference. When I was really skinny, I didn't feel strong. I felt faint quite a lot of the time, which obviously is not that safe when you're on a horse. But I was always strong because I think if you ride, you are always strong.
But
no matter
surely
how much
for modelling though, surely from riding it makes you a bit more toned.
Yes, which is lovely, but they wanted you to be
just skinny.
I've just never understood it. I don't understand that.
No.
I think someone who's healthy and, anyway. What do I know about that?
But what's fascinating, bringing back, because Tristan knows all about AI, as in
do you?
Artificial intelligence we're talking now. We're talking artificial intelligence.
I saw that one then, yeah.
Because surely with modelling, you could now, with AI, you could work out in the gym, get muscly, get a bit if you wanted to ride more, and then the AI can just make you look a bit...
Yeah, you probably could. I mean, Photoshop was the way they did it. They used to Photoshop.
I know, I actually... my autobiography from many years ago. I did in the
So
front
you wrote
cover.
it with AI, is that what you're about to say?
No, they didn't. They put a picture. They were going to put a picture of me on the front cover, and it all backfired because I said you can't use that because my legs just look too fat and I look too short and stubby. So they said, "Oh, don't worry, we can airbrush it." So then they airbrushed my legs, and so I look like my legs look like 6-foot model, and it completely backfired because when people saw the book, they go, "God, you put on weight."
Oh no!
When they then saw you in person?
Yes.
Oh no, that's awful.
We're gonna have to find this photo. I think put it side by side.
Airbrushing.
I don't even know how to edit pictures anymore. Just take it and
Just
see what
let's just
happens.
normalise being normal.
But how then? What was the turnaround? How did you then get involved with your presenting
So
side?
that came from the racing. So I went to an event and I met someone there and I chatted to him and I said, "Oh, I'd love to sit on a racehorse." Sort of thinking, I'll say it and sound ballsy, but I don't actually want to sit on a racehorse.
Yeah.
And he messaged me the next day and said, "Do you want to do the Magnolia Cup at Goodwood, which is a charity horse race?" And I thought, great, how hard could it be? Turns out it's really tough to ride a racehorse. And they set you up with a trainer. I was with Charlie Hills, riding 4 lots. I was terrified at the start. I would get on each horse going, "Tell me everything about this horse. I want to know all its quirks. I want to know everything that it might do." And then I would ask everyone in the yard because they just chuck you on. I was used to 2 horses for 10 years. You suddenly get chucked on anything and they're 2 and 3-year-olds and you don't get a warm up. You walk around the school and you go up the gallop and that's,
Wow.
and you've got to whack your stirrups up, which is a whole different
And you
way
want
of
to,
riding.
I know with racehorses, you when they're going quick, you want to
And
pull
don't
on
do
the
that.
reins to slow them, but they go quicker so you actually have to loosen the rein.
You have
don't
to loosen the rein. You have to start off with a longer rein, and you're up quite high in your stirrups. Again, that took me a while until Charlie said to me, "You are not allowed on that gallop anymore unless your stirrups have gone up 5 holes," because it's actually safer to be up high because you use your body as a leverage to slow down, to effectively keep control of them. Because if you move I don't know if you've seen any racing, but near the end of the race, the last 2 furlong or so, jockeys will start changing their hands and shortening their reins and moving their hands a lot. So those horses associate that with let's get going.
Yeah.
So if you do that when you're going up the gallops,
Then you're going to
goodbye. See you later.
So you had to completely adapt to your style of riding.
I had to totally change. And again, I wasn't a brilliant rider anyway, but I went into the yard and I just said to everyone, I'm going to pretend I've never ridden and I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about because that would be stupid. So anything you tell me, I will do, despite it feeling so alien. But I loved the adrenaline of going up those gallops is like nothing else. And then the Magnolia Cup was just insane.
I was hearing about the Magnolia Cup and now, I mean, or probably there was then, you know, a lot of people apply, a lot of women apply to do it, don't they? And it sounded like there was quite a long sort of period where they had to go into training, do all these tests and strengthening and things. I don't know. How long ago did you do it?
I did it 2018 and 2019, so I was lucky enough to do it twice. You have to do the jockey fitness test.
Yes.
Which is horrendous.
What does that entail?
So you start with the bleep test.
Oh,
and you
horrible.
have to get to a certain
Do you know the bleep
level of
test?
it.
No, but I'll
We'll do
probably
that
be
actually next
bleeped out
podcast.
very quick, I would have said.
Yeah, well, no, you actually probably would do what you're
I
anyway.
don't think
you
so.
run between point A and B and back.
I
Between
can't run.
Yeah, and you have to get there before the beep.
Before
and
the
the
beep,
beep
yeah.
gets quicker and quicker and quicker.
And it's really psychologically
But I
terrifying
love
'cause it
running.
doesn't end,
I
you just
love
finish.
running.
Do I look like a runner? No.
Yes, you do.
No.
We'll get you running. Don't worry about it.
No.
With cycling.
No. I go
Yeah,
to the
cycling.
gym.
Running, cycling.
I'll do weights any day of the week, but anything that makes me really blow,
Can't
I
do.
can't do.
Can we just discuss video games for a moment? So you've added video games to the bio this week. Last week, 22 books and a lot of video games. Do you know how many video games you are the face of?
If
'Cause
I'm
I do.
honest, do you?
I do.
No, I have no idea. And I can't say that I was hugely involved with the actual making of the video games.
So you
Listen,
weren't coding in the
I
background.
can't even turn on a computer, and I still can't. But it was something I was involved with a long time ago. It was after winning the Rolex Grand Slam. I was approached by the gaming people that obviously...
Ubisoft, I think.
Is that that? Oh, Ubisoft, that's right.
people.
It's so long
The gaming
ago.
people.
I mean, we're talking over 20 years ago. But I do remember when I tried playing the game, oh my God, it was a disaster. I fell off at every jump.
So you're trying to tell me that you find it easier to professionally ride an actual horse than to play the video game.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm definitely the opposite.
So you're
Well, I'm 100%
gamer.
better.
You're
I'm
a
definitely not a
gamer.
gamer, but I'm definitely better at gaming than I would be at professional show jumping.
Yeah, no, I need, that's one thing I want to do. Not have a lesson in video games, but I really, really want to learn how to use computers and iPads.
All right, okay, I'll teach you that, and then you can teach me how to show jump. Was that a good deal? I'm definitely getting the better end of the deal.
Let's start with you on the flat. I think one of my key messages with horses, don't run before you can walk. So I'm not going to have you jumping yet. If you say you're falling off playing polo.
Okay, again, I'm being humbled again.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's good. I like it.
I'd be more than happy to help you,
Fine.
but we'll walk before we can run.
Good advice. Did you know how many games there are?
How many?
Take a guess.
Well, I know there's ranch rescue and...
I've got them names here as well.
Oh, God, it's so long ago. But actually...
This is really impressive. It's amazing. You got 7 video games.
Well, I feel as though...
Over 4 different
I don't know whether...
softwares and computers. You're on the Wii. That's cool. If I'd be telling everyone, you don't even know how many you've been in. I'm like,
I don't even know what the Wii is. What's the Wii?
Well, exactly. It's the one where you wave the little wand around and you...
Right, okay.
Well, it's a type of video game.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I
you know the one where you can play tennis?
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the names.
I don't have time for video games in my life.
A lot of people got... You know you've sold over 1 million copies on your first video game? Okay, I'm going to challenge you now, Pippa. I want to see how many of your games that you actually know the name of. There's 7. And we'll be some sort of prize. You'll have a Talk Horse mug for each one you get right.
Ranch Rescue.
Nice. 1.
Stud Farm Inheritance.
Very good.
Saddle Up. Stirrup.
Oh, okay.
There's something with a stirrup in it. Horseshoe Ride.
The Golden Stirrup Challenge.
So that's half a mug.
Some good data here.
Oh my God, you've done your homework.
I've done my homework. We've got Secrets of the Ranch. Pippa Funnell 4, Secrets of the Ranch. We've got Pippa Funnell on the DS and then Pippa Funnell 2 on the DS, which is a type of gaming thing. And then we've got Take the Reins, Pippa Funnell.
Oh, I remember Take the Reins.
Which was your favourite to play? I mean, that is
Can
so
I just
cool.
say, and I don't want to go on, but it was a long time ago. And what you've got to understand is I've actually probably had a few tumbles and I can't remember. And I've hit my head a few times. So my memory isn't as good now. So
I mean, I think it's incredible. And, you know, one of those wasn't made that long ago if it was on the Wii. I could actually get that for Christmas for myself.
Well, maybe I need to. I think you should, but I think from a point of view of you really learning,
probably not the best.
You need to read my children's books.
That's probably more my kind of reading level as well.
Yeah, and there are pictures in it.
Okay.
Yeah, illustrations, lovely illustrations. We're going away, a little bit away from the dressage, but you had a terrible accident in
2001.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I was not driving that day. I wasn't driving the truck. Robert was. It's all his fault. Yeah, we did. I mean, I joke about it. It wasn't a joke. We're both very, very lucky to be alive. And I think it was like 23 years ago now. But
I remember it so well.
Oh, yeah.
With all those. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That was horrendous.
I mean, the worst thing imaginable.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a hill that is like that with a hairpin bend at the bottom and the brakes fail at the top. And you've got a lorry load of horses. And there's him driving, myself and my neighbour that's in the middle. I mean, I can remember everything right now, and it's just, you know, when you see your life flash in front of you.
Yeah.
And I can remember every second of it. Yeah, I still cannot believe we're alive.
So and so you're coming down the hill now at speed?
Yeah, literally on a Saturday morning. It was vile weather, but you don't think anything of it, and you literally, it's a mile away from where we live. But we do live on probably the biggest hill in Warwickshire. And I thought there was something wrong with it because he didn't say anything, and we were just speeding up. And I was like, Robert, what? You know, we don't need to go that fast. And he goes, and then he didn't actually say anything, and then he starts standing up and holding onto the steering wheel and then putting his foot on the brakes, and I'm going, oh. Yeah, the language probably wasn't
it must be
ready for Talk Horse, but you know,
sure you can imagine.
It was sheer panic, and all I kept doing was this to hold Callie in, my next door neighbour. Robert, bless him, if he hadn't have done what he did, I mean, I don't know how he did it.
How many horses did you have on?
There was 5 horses on the back of the lorry. And we were going, and then the hill starts going down.
Yeah.
And we know how steep this particular hill is. It's actually steeper than the one we actually live on. And somehow he managed to steer it onto the verge, which then slowed it a little bit. Just before we hit the hairpin bend, thank God it flipped. But the only thing I will say, if we hadn't have hit this tree, I wouldn't be here talking to you. There was a tree that stopped the lorry flipping over with a 70-foot drop behind it.
Jesus.
So, and the horses all flew out the roof. They were not injured.
What?
Because, you know, that you get the herringbone partitions, but the roof was like fiberglass. And I don't know how, I cannot explain it. Not one horse was injured, and that's all you could think about.
Wow. I mean...
Robert, me and Callie, slightly different, but they were okay, and obviously that's all that matters. And then all I heard was my groom in the other lorry behind us. It was them screaming, not us. We were kind of like, we were just in shock, I think, for a minute, the screams, because Callie was actually okay. Robert was squashed by the steering wheel, and I was half out, half in, and in pieces. But because the shock adrenaline kind of takes over. And I was completely squashed by the dashboard, and my clients brilliantly kind of pulled it away for me to get out. I mean, I don't remember any pain because I couldn't feel a thing. I mean, I just knew there was something very wrong with my legs. I was sort of holding it, and it was kind of like,
oh no,
swinging everywhere. But I was more worried about Callie and Robert because they were stuck in the lorry. They couldn't get out, and the engine was still going, but I knew the horses were all right. And then it's like sheer panic. And I could hear Robert screaming, am I all right? And I'm like, oh my God, are you all right? You know, we're only worried about you. And then the next thing is the air ambulance comes out. There's people everywhere. I mean, it's just the paramedics turn up, and it is like something from a movie, you know, not in a good way, you know. It's just, it was just horrible. I mean, yeah, I needed a lot of therapy after that. But, you know, when things like that happen, we've all had falls, we've all hurt ourselves. But when you have a life-threatening injury, you end up, and then you're told you're never going to ride again. You'll be lucky if you walk again. We might have to take your leg off from the knee.
Is that how serious it was?
Yeah, I mean, it was smashed to pieces. And I thought, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad because, you know, I was on the old gas and air. I didn't know what was going on. And then when you're in hospital and then they say you need this operation, but we can't do it yet. We don't know what we're going to do with you. And it was Nick Skelton, actually, because he had broken his neck a few years before and he had this exterior fixator on. And at the time, the doctor said, your best way is to have an exterior fixator on, but you're a woman and we're not sure you're going to cope with it. They weren't trying to be, you know, sexist or anything at the time. Yeah. They just said it's a really hardcore thing and we just don't think it's good and we might recommend you in traction. I'm thinking, there's no way I am staying in this hospital. I said, get me wired up. My friend, he had it on his head. I'll be fine.
Alas.
Oh, I remember you walking around with it. I remember it.
But that was all right after about 6 weeks. The first 6 weeks, my body was having none of it. My body was rejecting all. It just looked like, what's that game you used to play when you were a kid? Is it Kaplunk? Where all the wires pins go through. My leg looked like one of those, you know. And, I mean, I don't know how much detail you want. It's quite horrific, but you had to, it was horrible.
Shall we move on?
So how long was the recovery and how long, and emotionally, how did you then get back into riding?
Me being me.
Back on the horse.
And most riders. I did actually get on my Rocky, with the cage on. Only walking. Yeah, it probably wasn't ideal. But not very soon. I mean, it was like 8 months later. I had to it was like 8 months later.
My legs hanging off. Let's get back on the horse.
Because that's what you do.
Well, it is the expression for a reason. It's back on the bike, back on the horse. We're going to change it.
I was like, I'm going to prove those doctors wrong. They don't know what they're talking about.
Clearly you were right.
Yeah, but it's horrific. You know, to go through those sort of, learning how to walk again was actually the hardest thing. I wasn't worried about riding. It was walking. And, you know, you get left with the scars and the mental scars and everything else. But do you know what? I'm here. And any opportunity that comes my way, I take with both hands because I might not have been here.